finally getting down to this. Oh, can't believe it.
After months.
After months. Awesome. So, I was thinking, we just talk about our stories. I'm going to ask questions. You can ask questions. I particularly want to drag the conversation around you being in the legal field, right? Of course, you've got different experiences, but what are some of the ways that you find remote workers can protect themselves?
Okay, let me write these things down because,
Yeah. And then of course we're going to talk about how did you end up getting your first remote role, landing this other one. But yeah, what are some of the ways that we can protect ourselves as remote workers when it comes to the permanency of the job, when it comes to performance? Yeah. And then of course, I am sure because we've got like a number of legal people who are seeking for opportunities. How can one do that? Like, where should they start? Yeah. Do I have any other question? I think that this would just be conversational. Yeah.
I like that.
But that's what I want. Yes. And of course, you're gonna plug, your channel. We're gonna plug your TikTok. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. When last did I sit down to record something? It's been so long.
Wait, even for TikTok?
For TikTok, if you noticed, I haven't really been posting.
How so?
The move and everything, it just kind of got in my way.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that, social media thing that you're like, okay, I've moved. Now I need to put my place together before I can start creating.
Right.
So I'm just in a bit of a funk right now. All the videos I'm putting out, it's just me going out and getting something. This feels good. I feel like this is the pick that's going to make me start creating again. Thanks to you.
Awesome. Love that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode. We are joined by the lovely V. I actually know her as V, but I guess today you're going to know her full names. I do know her as V. She is such a lovely and bubbly personality. And get this, she is a remote worker, really big on TikTok as well. So you guys want to check her out. The reason as to why we are having V on board today is because as BTS, we're trying to do a lot of collaborations. And we saw V's platform and we're like, we are so aligned. Like the girlies are, the math is mathing. So yeah, I want to talk about our journeys, because there's also the thing of having like a one story, like the danger of having one story. Now mine, as you all know, is that I left formal employment remote, right? Because I was burnt out, to be honest, right? And the last time I had a conversation with V, that wasn't her experience. And I was like, you have to come on board and let the people know, right? Because I'm over here preaching, work-life integration, work-life balance, set your boundaries, but your experience is completely different. So without further ado, let us welcome V. Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you doing?
I like how you described me. Bubbly personality, that's really me. Like, that's just me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and that's a vibe that we get when you're watching your videos on TikTok. That's the vibe that I got when I was when we had the conversation. It felt so easy. It felt like we were besties. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome, cool. So why don't you let the audience know who is V and what is your full name? Yeah, otherwise everyone will be going by V.
Wow, I didn't know you don't know my full name. Hey? I don't. So normally people get to know my full name when they join like my TikTok lives and I'm answering work calls because I have to introduce myself. So I prefer being told V because that's what my mom used to call me when I was growing up. But my full name is Vanessa.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a beautiful name, Vanessa.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
Awesome, cool. So, Where does your journey start? I love that question because all our journeys are different, right? And you really never know where or yeah, who's gonna resonate with your journey. So even the little bit, like I know in South Africa it is you go up to matric and then now you go to higher education. So just walk us through where does your journey start? If someone was to ask, who's Vanessa, who's V, like what would you say?
So now I kind of feel like my whole identity that people know now is very much the remote worker.
Yeah.
But where working online like in 2015.
Sorry. It got cut off. So you are talking, it got cut off when you're saying you feel like your whole identity is the remote worker there.
Yeah. 2 seconds. Okay. Just 2 seconds. I feel like my lips are so dry.
Having come from the gym.
Anyway, yes. So, as I was saying, right? I feel like my whole identity, the identity that people know and associate me with now, it's mainly the remote worker, remote everyone knows me as like the remote babe, right?
Yeah.
But before the remote worker, I had been exploring like working online, making money online since 2015.
Wow.
But what's funny is in 2015, I actually didn't know I could make money online. I had just started blogging because I had noticed it gives you some sort of freedom. Yeah. And I used my blog as like an outlet to just talk about fashion. I really love fashion. So I would just, I would just talk about fashion. But I would say that's basically where it all started. Me becoming the person that people know as like the online person that I am. Nice. So I started off blogging, and from blogging, I basically found myself being an influencer. It's not something that I pursued. It's something that kind of landed on my lap and I embraced it. And I went on with that. And I was working full time. And then at some point, things just, because COVID, Jesus. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so because of COVID, I found myself unemployed. Also, influencing wasn't really going anywhere. So at this point, I was just in a funk. And that's when we were getting out of COVID, that's when a remote job just kind of also then showed up. And it's so funny when I speak of it now, it's almost as if everything just kind of shows up. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to grab you. But it really does feel like that's what it is. It was an opportunity that someone just shared with me, which is a story that I've told so many times. And people are like, no, you were just like, I'm like, nah, girl, okay? I did some stuff that helped me get that job. But yeah, this was the first remote job that anyone ever shared with me. I applied and I got it. It's not the norm, but that's what happened. There are people I know who have applied for 600, 1,000 jobs. I applied for one and I
and you got it. And whoa, yeah, it's very. But then I think I know you said like things just show up. I'm a believer that there is no coincidences in this world, right? So
neither do I.
Yeah, and I feel like I know you said like things just show up, but what if in you having your first blog, you talking about fashion, that was just the universe getting you ready for this opportunity, right? You being an influencer. I didn't know you were an influencer. Yo. Right? What if all that was just preparing you for this remote opportunity, which then, required you to be a certain type of way? And we can talk about that, right? Like how did you fare in that first remote interview? If you can remember, I know it's so long ago, but yeah, what are some of the things that you felt for you to have applied to one remote opportunity and then you get it, just that one, right? How do you feel like you showed up in the interview that made a recruiter or an employer be like, I want Vanessa and not any other person? Yeah.
Okay. So I definitely agree with what you said. Like things don't just happen. I definitely believe that everything we are doing in our lives, yes, first it's the order of life. It's the path that, if you believe in God or higher power,
Yeah.
whatever you believe in it,
Uh-huh.
it's that higher power that has already prepared the life that you are supposed to go through, right? But then, if you don't then follow through, these things won't just happen.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So that's why I'm also one person to always tell people if something feels like it just showed up, embrace it. Even if it requires you to learn something new, embrace learning and just bettering yourself and things like that. And that is one of the things that I can tell you my very first remote job. The lady who hired me actually hired me because I did have that experience as a blogger. I
Oh,
knew
wow.
how to do things online. And
Yeah.
also being an influencer, I had grown my own social media, so I could use that as social proof. And I got hired as a LinkedIn community manager. So being a
Whoa. Uh-huh.
so
That's a
being
big
a social
title.
so being a social media manager for that lady,
Yeah.
what I used was the proof that I had already put together, being a blogger, being an influencer, growing my own social media, also taking online courses and things like that.
Right.
So
Right.
those are some of the things
Right.
that helped me. And again, I would say in the role that I'm in now, those things still played a part. And I mean, it's a bit backward, but unfortunately, a lot of people in the first world countries, they still have that mentality that, we're in Africa, we might not know as much as them, we don't have as
True.
much exposure. But if you then show up with proof of the things you've done before, for me, being able to say, you know what, I've been doing things online for this many years is one of the biggest things that opens up the door for me. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously so many other things, but I think
Right.
that's one of the major things.
Right, right. And I loved what you said that, for other people apply to, I don't know, 600, 1,000 roles. Because, and I don't say this to gloat or, to put someone down, but for those, now, for V's followers, who might not know my story. So I landed my first remote role on TikTok, believe you me, right? Yeah, it was 2020, we're just coming off COVID period. And everyone was dancing on TikTok. I too was dancing on TikTok, I have to say.
I love that you were not shy to dance. Okay.
Right. So yeah, I'm over there scrolling, doom scrolling, right? At night, and then this creator comes on board, and she is Latam, so Latin American, and she is in a two-piece bikini talking about how she is earning in dollars while at the pool and working, and I'm like, what is this? And that obviously piques my interest because at that time I was, feeling where I was working at had been there for like 6 years. That was my first job out of like my first permanent job out of uni. So, and I'd been at the company for 6 years. So I felt like, there's so much more that I can give. Like this is not the end, right? So I'd started, sending out applications, yada, yada. She comes on board. I save the video. The next morning, send in my application. 2 weeks later, I'm invited for an interview. Long story short, after 5 or 6, interviews, I actually do land the job. And when I actually asked my hiring manager, why did I get the job? Because I always love feedback. I got hired because they needed an HR person who was also a coach. And at that time, I remember I was doing a coaching certification, right? Damn expensive. But I was doing that not with the intention of landing a job or anything of the sort. I was just trying to do that to kind of
Wow.
better myself and upskill. So when you talk about the things like you landed the job because you were doing earlier blogging, right? And being able to manage your social media, to me it speaks on how intentional we have to kind of take on things and also look at transferable skills that you have in the remote setting. I don't think like a general HR person, not a general. Please don't come for me. Like,
You want the internet to come up to you, ma'am? Are you for sure?
no. And I also don't use the term vanilla, but yeah, you have to be more, right, in your field, because again, the competition is global. So what
True.
sets, you know, HR professionals aside, what sets you from other legal practitioners? What is that other
Mm.
thing that, you know, you wouldn't find in a legal person? Yeah. And
There.
all this while, V, you
Mhm.
are studying law or have you graduated?
No. Nope.
No.
I did not study law. I was never in the field of anything legal. I did not think I was ever going to end up there. But like you said,
Yeah.
the skills that you acquire through your career, through your life, you really need to be intentional about them. They might not lead exactly where your intention is intended. But for me, that is exactly what happened. My intention wasn't necessarily to end up being a legal assistant, though I love my job. I love what I do. My intention, I thought I would end up working as a social media manager or at some marketing firm, like everything to do with online. I was taking courses. Remember, I said, like, during that COVID period, I was unemployed for those 3 years. All I was doing was taking on courses and courses online. And everything I did was just geared towards the things that I am interested in. And those things are social media and business. So I did like different courses that are very geared towards social media, preparing myself, thinking I would end up working online as a social media manager or a marketing manager or something in that space.
Uh-huh.
But then all the skills I learned from those courses, I use in my current job. If I don't use them, they are an added advantage because I can tell you my company doesn't necessarily do social media. But because I know certain things about social media, I'm able to influence certain decisions we make within the company. Even though we are not necessarily present on social media, there are things I've learned that I can help with. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. When you were talking, you said you went through like 5, 6 interview girls.
Right, yeah. I swear, 5, 6 levels of interviews. I think at a certain point, I did tell my hiring manager, like, yo, his name is Miguel. I was like, Miguel, even if I don't land this job, can we still be friends? Because
At this point, we are homies.
we're familiar, right? Right. But yeah, it
Ah.
was it was quite intense, and I later came to realize that it was that intense because they have to, you know, so part of their value proposition to their customers is that they're going to give you access to top 1 or top 10% global talent, and so they're very
Mm.
intentional about getting the best of the best.
You see, this is why you and I vibe, okay? Okay. This is the best.
Right. So and I remember going through, you know, a case study, doing research. And by the way, I was also, you know, interviewing for a role called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I trust you me, if there's an HR professional in Kenya, there's nothing of the sort. And that was like 2020, right?
Wow.
Um, so I was, you know, doing a lot of research on that. But then again, it is more on like employee engagement, and I loved employee engagement and just, you know, making people feel the best and, you know, bring out the best out of everyone. So yeah, at some point there was a case study, had to do research, I had to present. That's why I always tell people, like, your presentation skills, like, there's a lot that goes into communication. It's not just
Yeah.
verbal and non-verbal. It's not just about, you know, having an accent or not, but we had to do like a presentation, yeah, and to convince the panel that, you know, this is what I would do if I were to get hired. And
Mhm.
trust you me, I think 2 months in to me getting the job, like being onboarded, some of the recommendations that I gave on the presentation is what you are implementing. So yeah,
Yes, girl.
I guess best of the
Mm-hmm.
best. Anyhow,
Top 10, honey.
can we talk about V? Can we talk about
Uh-huh.
how you landed your legal assistant role? Yeah. And then I also want to talk about
Mhm.
ways in which we can protect ourselves, right? But then that's gonna come up in a bit. But yeah, can we talk about how you landed a legal assistant role?
Sure. So here's the thing, right? With this role, I don't know if you know this, but I actually got both the roles, my very first one and this one, through an agency, which I'm sure most of your audience is in Kenya. And unfortunately, the agency doesn't hire from Kenya. However, it would help to just have a look at it. Wherever you're located, just look at it and see what most companies are looking for, right? So that's kind of how I got my job. The first one that I had, we had a bit of a misunderstanding and I just couldn't have it anymore. And I was like, I laid some complaints, and these guys are like, okay, if you want to leave, you can leave and we can pay you with another employer. So that's how I then ended up working with this company. The very first one also, it was law, only that I was handling social media for them. It
Okay.
was an attorney that I was working for. So these guys also, they are a law firm. But what then helped me get that job? Because I'll be honest, like, guys, intention, I can't stress this enough. Like, being intentional, even with just the process of you applying for a job, hey, it makes a lot of a difference. With the same agency, there are people who go for interviews, and during that period of getting paid to an employer, some people can wait 6 months, others don't even end up getting matched. I left this job 2 weeks later, I was getting matched to somebody else. And to me, that's like, what? Because there are people I had done training with who still hadn't gotten matched for the first time. So that's kind of how it happens. And I guess we'll get into talking about this, like some of the things that can help you stand out in order for you to at least, grab those opportunities or become like the first option if someone wants to hire you. But generally, there are employers employer who would like to interview you. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's schedule it. We scheduled that. We got on that interview. I was interviewed by the two partners, like the two owners of the law firm, and our office manager. It was a ball. Like, I was having a nice time. You see how I'm talking to you right now. It's funny how when I go for an interview, this is me in an interview. I am not trying to water myself down. I'm not trying to give you a personality that I think you'll like. I'm going to give you me. If that doesn't work for you, that is okay. But I am bringing who I am to it. So we had an interview that felt like we were
V
having a
V, one
nice.
second, 1 second. You're frozen from my end.
Sorry?
You're frozen from my end. Let me refresh.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. Now I
I'm
can hear
good.
you. Yes.
I
So you
Where was I
are
frozen?
we'll let that be. But you are in an interview. You
Yes,
from that.
yes. So, yeah, in our interview, it felt like we were just having a big fat conversation. All four of us, including the hiring manager who had matched you who had matched me with these people. But obviously, she would just be quiet. I am just conversing with these three people who are interviewing me. And when you leave an interview and you're just like, hey, this is my job. If you don't take me, there's something wrong with you. That's kind of the feeling I had. They made me feel so comfortable. I had also done my research, which is something I've shared also on social media. I really did my research to find out who are the people who own this law firm, how big is it, and things like that. Then it helped me prepare for my interview. For example, I was told we found a prospective employer. This is their website. Our interview will be on this day. This is the role they want to hire for. One of my top priorities was to go on that website, figure out how big the company is. How big it is would help me understand. are they going to get somebody external to interview me or not? They were a small company.
Interesting.
And from that, I figured there's no way they are going to get somebody from outside to come and interview me. I need to do my work on these people. And then once I got to know that, I needed to figure out, okay, of the people here, of the people I see on their website, who is likely to interview me, right?
Right.
So I knew, because it's a small law firm, the two partners, obviously, at least one of them would want to be part of that interview. And then an office manager. From there, you've got the paralegal, and then you've got the other attorneys. Obviously, the other attorneys are not going to interview you. Like, there's no way. I did my research. These two partners, I knew everything about them, okay? I stalked their LinkedIn because I needed to get that job.
Oh my goodness. Uh-huh. Talk
That
about
office
research.
manager. Oh, yes. And that's something I always basically preach a lot of the times. Like, research really helps you. I take it as I am doing all the work now so that I don't have to do a lot for me to get the job. If I do a lot of the
I
research,
like
when I
that.
get to, yeah, when I get to my interview, I've done the bulk of the work that's needed. All I need is to impress in my interview, and that's it.
And you know what? At the end of the day, you get hired based off of I like to put it this way. If you've got two candidates, all great candidates, right? At the end of the day, what it boils down to is likability. And I love that you lead with that. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
do so you did the research, got to know, the people who most likely would interview you, and then now you speak to their needs.
I
That's a
speak to
gem
their
right there.
needs. I relate to them on a personal level. And
Uh-huh.
guys, like, interviews, to me, interviews are like when people say, I am
Right.
struggling with interviews. I get it.
Yeah.
But to me, an interview is like, guys, just go have fun with it. Because that's what I do. I go and I have
Yeah.
fun with it. And somehow
Mhm.
it works out.
That's amazing. So I think for anyone who's watching this, I don't know about it. I don't know about South Africa, like the local job market there, but over here in Kenya, and I think a few other African countries, if you're to go and just be yourself, be bubbly and all that, it might be looked upon as not being professional, right? So you need
Mhm.
to be like so serious for you to be considered a professional. What I'm hearing, and like we've talked about this, but also what V is almost rubber stamping is when you get into the interview and you just let your personality come through, and you get to enjoy the process of conversing, right?
Mhm.
Um, you're able to shine even more. Yeah.
Sure.
I think recruiters will be, or even like employers, right, are
Mhm.
more willing to um, teach you, right? The thing that you can't teach is like the culture fit and attitude that you have to come with. So, like with the right attitude,
Yeah.
someone you'd be shocked as to how many doors open just because you've got like the right attitude.
Yes. And I think another thing is just, knowing a lot about the company you're interviewing for also informs how you show up in the interview.
Right.
With this company, right? I knew my role was going to include speaking to clients, right? It's not the majority of it, because I can tell you in a day, sometimes I can speak to maybe just 5 clients. So it's not the majority of it. But in an interview, I cannot give you an example of how I write an email, but I can give you a feel of how I speak to people, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So because of that, because I knew they would want someone, firstly, you need to be able to communicate well, you need to be articulate, and you need to kind of also embody the culture of their company. They are not like serious. Yes, we do serious business, but we don't have like the serious personality. And just by going through their website, I figured that even their reviews, the clients are very happy of how the people talk to them, how the people handle their work. So as much as I show up as myself, there is a bit of that. I'm trying to show you I can fit into the culture. of your
Yes.
workplace. So
Uh-huh.
that's something I think a lot of people overlook. And I understand in the African structure of things. I mean, I have worked for quite a number of African countries based here in South Africa, in Zimbabwe as well. I guess it depends on the role that you're also interviewing for. If
Mm-hmm.
you're interviewing for an HR position, you're not going to come in and just be all over the place. Like, yeah, we want your personality, but are you really going to show up and just be, nah? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Uh-huh.
depends on the role, but I would say you are the recruiter here. I'm sure personality really still needs to come out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I love one thing that you've said that do in-depth research on the website because there's
Yeah.
a lot that you can tell just by going through the website, right? Case in point, if you
Mhm.
two have a look at, and you can all do this, right? And leave the comment, like comment down below. If you go to Superside and then you just go through the website, it is all fun and funky and all that, right? And then try
Mm.
going into Canonical's website. It is so goddamn serious. So you'd think they're operating on hearts virtually, right? So
Mm.
I guess, yeah, just to, double down on what you've said. So you have a look at the website, you have a look at the culture, because the website can tell you a lot more on the company's culture, and then you kind of align to that. Huh.
As a recruiter yourself, though, I'm sorry I have to ask, as a recruiter yourself, do you find that when you interview people, are people doing enough research, or am I the person who is just too obsessed with research?
Thank you for asking that question. They don't. They don't. They
Okay.
don't. It is so frustrating. So
Mm.
recently we were actually onboarding. So we've onboarded two new people, two BTS. And this is BTS. Like we are a small company. We are still a startup, 2 years in, right? Less than
Mm.
2 years. This is our second year.
You're doing
And we were
amazing, by the way.
Thank you. And we were looking for an HR assistant, and we we're also looking to hire an editor. It is remote, right? But can you believe it when I tell you, V, that we
Mm-hmm.
would get into an interview setting and into the interview room, right? And someone would still have their camera off. They would still be on the road.
Hi, Bo.
They haven't gone through the job advert. They don't know our style, our video style. They don't do research. They don't do research. And I'm not sure if it is, a generation thing, or I don't know. I don't know. I found like, even when I was still in uni, right, which is like several years back, I'm not going to say that. Part of the things, like when you'd go through the career counseling office, they'll tell you, do research, get to know the website. Part of interview prep was you go, you look at the website, you understand the vision, the values, the objectives. In a way, you get to
Mm.
understand what this company is all about, because the question that would be asked in an interview would be, so what do you know about our company, right? So you had to know something.
Yeah.
It shocks me. It perturbs me. Like they don't. And then speak of even how they are presenting, like how candidates are presenting in the interview room. And that is why we do what we do at BTS, that we take you through the interview prep, right? So as to kind of, pick out on those things, those areas, even on how they're presenting themselves, and talking about not their accomplishments, but how fit of a role are they for this position.
Mhm.
It is so wanting. It is so wanting. So yeah, a lot needs to be done. And I love the fact that I've got a question for you, V. I
Mhm.
noted some time back you were going through, is it a Toastmasters thing that you had joined, and you're doing like a challenge?
Yeah.
Now, if you had asked me, V, I'd say, why does Vanessa need that? She doesn't. She's articulate, she's eloquent. Why? Why did you feel the need to do
Thank
that?
you.
Why did you feel the need to do that? And to me, it speaks volumes as to how intentional you are with your career, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. But I believe in just, you know what, guys? We are on this earth, firstly, not long enough. And you could be here for way too long, also, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you see now. So my thing is, if you can do something to better yourself. What are you going to lose? Nothing. But the reason I actually started that challenge, it's something I'm going to now continue doing every year, twice a year. We did it in April. We are starting again on the 1st of August. I am doing it
Nice.
firstly for myself, and then for the people who are always on my live also, and they're like, I always freeze up in an interview. I don't know how to speak in front of people. I don't know how to be articulate. So there are so many people online who can teach you how to speak better and things like that. Can I just shameless plug? I actually have a once-off masterclass on like speaking and speech and everything that's coming up like first week of October. So that's another bonus thing that I'm going to now start doing every year. So we do the challenge twice a year, and then we do the masterclass once a year. But yeah,
Awesome. Uh-huh.
it basically helps people gain confidence. And I think that's something a lot of people like struggle with. If you don't have the confidence to show up in front of a panel of people, or at least one person to interview you, you are obviously going to mess it up for yourself. So yeah, that was the intention behind doing that. Yes, I can get better at speaking myself, but it can also help other people do it. And it's always easier to learn when you're doing it as a group. You can keep each other accountable. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And please do share the details to the masterclass. We're going to leave it what in the caption, and yeah, in the caption, so that if anyone is looking to join the masterclass and how to be confident and how to speak, we've got a lot of people asking me accent reduction classes. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't do everything. So yeah, maybe if there's someone watching, you just
This has been really amazing. As you can tell, guys, I really enjoy talking. I'm very passionate about remote work. I'm very passionate about everything to do with online stuff. So I'm your girl if you want to learn everything online. And Lorraine, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for creating this platform that we can learn from each other as Africans, and we can better our lives together. And for the people who might want to check out the agency that has helped me get my remote job, it is Job Duck. That's JOBDUCK. So have a look, and yeah, hopefully it also works out for you guys. And keep listening to Lorraine. There's a lot that you can learn from her. And a lot of the other creators who are giving you all this information, trust me, it can all help. So I really hope it helps you guys. And for those who might want to attend the masterclass that is supposed to help you speak better, show up more confidently in your interviews, it's going to be in October, the first week of October, and Lorraine is going to share that information with you. So let me just say it's gonna be in the description box. Okay, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
So maybe, just maybe, if there's anyone who is looking to get into, I don't know, learning how to communicate better, be more articulate, you want to join V's masterclass, like I said, the caption, the details are going to be in the caption. And do also let us know, right? Because we can do this. This is like a long-term collaboration between V, the remote worker, and BTS. Do let us know any questions that you have, right? And we can do like not a recap. We can even do like a live or like another video. So do let us know what are some of your questions. I know for sure a bunch of you are gonna want to kind of know the agency that we used. We're also going to leave that over here. So this is the agency. Check them out. And yeah, we've got Kenyans, we've got South Africans. So just, you know what, you never really know your luck. So check it out. From my end, what I've learned is it takes a lot of intentionality. And we knew this, right? So it takes a lot of intentionality for you to be able to land a remote job. You do need to identify your transferable skills and see what value proposition are you bringing to these companies. If you're liking this video, do hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, and hit that notification bell for you to be able to get notified when we do post one of these amazing videos. And with that, I guess I will see you guys in the next one.